Good morning, everyone. My name is Kate. I'm just going to do a quick sound check here, make sure with my team we're good. Okay, I got the high sign, so that's good. Welcome to our Sunday morning class with Guy Finley. We're broadcasting from Merlin, Oregon. We have folks in the room here with us, and of course we've got our audience online, so welcome to all of you. If you don't know about the format that we usually have on Sundays, basically Guy is going to be giving an hour-long talk here in just a few moments. We'll take a short break and we'll come back for part 2 of class, which is an open dialogue time with all of you. It's a time when you can ask questions or just speak with Guy directly if you wish. If you're in the room, you can come up and talk at the mic. And I'll tell you more about all of that when we get to that point. We'll run until about 11:30 Pacific time today, so about 2 hours. And if you're not able to stay for the full 2 hours, these classes are recorded, and you will be able to go back to the replay anytime, just on our YouTube or Facebook or GoToWebinar channels. So just keep that in mind. And today is a special day. The first Sunday of every month, we do what we call Deep Dive Sunday. And that's when you guys, our audience, has sent in questions that you would like Guy to take a deeper dive into, writings that he, maybe explain his writings, something that you've heard in a class, or other writings from masters. And we do have a couple of questions that have been sent in, so thank you for sending those in. And you can continue to do that anytime through our website. Just send in any questions anytime for Deep Dive Sunday, and we'll save them for the next one, which of course will be in July after this one. All right, I guess just a little admin. If you're in the room and you have a cell phone, if you could please make sure that it's off. And online, if you have any trouble during the broadcast, you can reach out to us at support@guyfinley.org, or you can just go to the chat area wherever you're watching from, and someone behind the scenes will help you. I think we're ready to get started. Guy, are you ready? All right. Just give me a moment. I have to think for a second. I'm juggling a few things here. You have it up on the screen? Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so I'll start by reading the title and the key lesson for today. Here's the title. Perfect freedom has no fear of feeling tied down. And the key lesson. Show me the one who governs his or her own thoughts and feelings, and I will show you someone who lives in a world unclouded by worry and fear. Want me to go right into the question, or you want to start with some comments?
Well, I'm going to speak for a minute. Just leave that up for a second. Good morning. The talk title is actually a key lesson itself, and sets the stage for the lesson that follows it. And I'm going to spend a minute explaining the talk title and the key lesson before I have Kate come up and read the first of the deep dive questions or topics that have been submitted for our study. If you've never studied with us before on a deep dive Sunday or Wednesday, it simply means that instead of me sitting here and talking, we talk together when a certain topic is brought up so that we can share what we can from our understanding about that topic, so that everybody that is willing to contributes to not just the content of the discussion, but the atmosphere the discussion takes place in. You at home are invited to do this too, and you'll understand the format as we get into it. So the title of the talk is Perfect Freedom Has No Fear of Feeling Tied Down. I suppose if I wanted to, I could just make the whole class just on that one sentence, because there's so much in it. So I'm going to tell you things that you don't know. I'm going to tell you things that you think you know, but you don't. The reason that perfect freedom has no fear of feeling tied down is because that perfect freedom belongs to a nature that nothing can touch. Our mind, the way that it is, essentially lives in a constant state of imagination. It doesn't know that it has created the system that is stuffed with ideas, images, beliefs, hopes, expectations, images of things desired when something disturbed that nature, and by identifying with the images that came out of it as a response, it felt the momentary satisfaction or consolation of a time to come when at last it would transcend whatever was troubling it in that moment. That nature is always at work. It's never not active. And for a long time, part of its false activity and part of what humanity suffers from in indescribable ways is that that same nature that lives in hell creates heaven for itself. The heaven of a time to come, and it makes no difference what the time is to come that is imagined. All time to come is hell, because it brings with it an identity waiting to be released from what it believes has made it a captive of something. And no such nature exists. But that nature, your nature, doesn't know it doesn't exist. And because you don't know it exists, you flip back and forth between an idealized world where you'll finally have, be, do all the things that will set you free, and then the shattering of those ideals when the conditions come along and prove that you're a captive not only of the moment that you blame, but your own ideas that gave rise to that relationship. And then you go back and forth, vacillate between what seems to be the ideal of heaven and the hatred of hell. The truth is that you live in two worlds at once, and you don't understand that because you can't live in two worlds at once yet. You just live in one world, and it's the world of thought and the heaven that thought creates to escape the hell of its torment. But you're a creature of this earth. I am a creature of this planet. My body was made by nature. It took on the form and the characteristics of that which was convenient to its existence, but it was guided by something that came from the heavens. And so something heavenly is built around and within that which is earthly and physical. And the will of the heaven that sowed into this planet, this little spark that took on this flesh that became the cold matter, it just goes on, and it's in constant conflict with each other. And you don't know the constant conflict is not because of the world that you feel makes you a captive when it takes away what you want. You're a captive of a consciousness that has no idea that it is a citizen of two worlds. And those two worlds have their right place, but they also have a right order. And because you don't know either world exists at the same time, you're always creating order from the world that is out of order within you. Freedom has no fear of feeling tied down. Do you know why? Because you can't tie down the wind. You can't tie down love. You can't tie down compassion. You can't tie down what is good. You can't tie down what is light. And yet, here I am, I'm in this body, and whatever this body may be to you, you wouldn't want to be in my body right now, I can guarantee you that. All this pain in this body, all this uncertainty in this body of thought about the body that thought lives in. And it's weighty. It hurts. The body doesn't want to do anything except to escape itself. But at the same time that the body feels the weight, that body doesn't understand the weight it feels is the weight of a consciousness that doesn't want to be experiencing what that body's going through, failing to understand there's another order of yourself that's perfectly willing to go through whatever it has to go through so that it can grow into understanding the weight of this body, the weight of being a human being on this planet with so much pain in it. freedom. You can grab me, but you can't hold me. You can slap me, but you can't sting me. You can do all manner of things to this flesh, but it doesn't change the fact that the flesh itself was doomed when it came into this world, but within it lives something that's forever. And when you understand that at the same time, you no longer have fear. Even when you're in the middle of fear, you don't have it. Because you've been joined to something else and not in imagination. You've been joined to something else that cannot die because you've died to that which continues to try to find life as it knows it for itself. This is all just on the topic. But it sets the stage for everything. I myself, sometimes when I'm speaking, have been waiting 50 years to hear what's being said. You can't manufacture that. You're just in the right place, which is always between the worlds, aware of both at the same time. The golden mean, not the you mean, not the mean you. Perfect freedom has no fear of feeling tied. Aren't you terrified of feeling tied down? Terrified of what may happen tomorrow? Terrified of what's going to happen to my body? Now what's going to happen? You're all day long. Without knowing it, your mind rushing ahead into something that it expects or hopes or that it fears may take place. And the minute you have the fear of something that may take place, you have all the questions designed to help you escape what only exists because you imagined it first and don't know that you did. Show me the one who governs his or her thoughts and feelings, and I'll show you someone who lives in a world unclouded, unshrouded by worry and fear. Do you understand the two together now? This is what you're meant to do in this life. But we run into tough times, don't we? I swear to you that one day you will have a light spirit in spite of all the darkness that is moving in and around you. The light dwells in the darkness doesn't understand it. But when the darkness itself calls itself the light, which it does, it sees you and you see yourself through the lens of whatever its content is, and its content is filled with comparison about you shouldn't have to do this, you shouldn't have to go through this, you're too this, you're too that, I can't, they won't. And that's called hell, because you're fighting to escape a world that you're creating as you fight with it. You're fighting to escape a world that you are creating by your fight with it. But you don't know that this mind that calls itself heaven and hell at the same time, if I'm judging you, am I not superior to the one I judge? But to the one who's judging you, who's negative about what you've done, does that person know that while they're negative and shaking their finger or saying people shouldn't be like that, does it know that it's receiving blow after blow after blow of energy produced by comparison inside of itself, and that conflict drives the whole matter forward? It doesn't know it. You can. We better go.
Question one?
No, let's go home. Yes, question one, please, Kate.
Okay, give me a second here. I have to set something first. Let's see if this works. Are you seeing the question on your screen?
I have it here. Do you want?
No, do you see it? I'm double checking. Do you see it there?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay, great. If you see it, everyone sees it.
Remember, she's going to read this question, and then we're going to open it up. We're going to look at it together so that whoever wrote this will have the benefit of 30, 40, 50. There's hundreds of people online. If you contribute, this person will be able to see all of this through the lens of a consciousness that they do not have access to, because they can only see it through this little keyhole that we've described.
All right, here's the question, the first question that was submitted. Hi, Guy. I discovered your YouTube channel a couple of months ago. In your book, The Secret of Letting Go, you write about a crisis consisting of us hanging on to a lying, self-flattering image of ourselves which we refuse to let go of, and that somehow the way out of this crisis involves a wish to understand it and to endure the crisis by seeing its real cause. With this in mind, what lesson can I learn when another person is sarcastic towards me? For example, when someone implies that I'm lazy, how should I think in the moment a comment like that is made? What image am I holding on to when another person attacks me verbally and I feel hatred towards them?
So let's bring up that first key lesson again, and then we'll look at this together. Do you get the gist of this person's question? I was looking for an answer and I stumbled upon something that you wrote. I'm paraphrasing this person. And in what you wrote, I got this idea that I'm interested in because I've been unable to release myself from a certain kind of crisis that visits me almost on a daily basis. Because on a daily basis, I'm surrounded by, and he doesn't write this, or she, I'm surrounded by idiots on a daily basis. How many of you are surrounded by idiots on a daily basis? How many of you, when you're home alone in bed, are surrounded by idiots? And what he goes on to say is, what's the lesson that you say I need to learn so that I can stop reincarnating these relationships that because of them I find myself in this crisis of essentially hating people that attack my character. In this instance, he says something about somebody implies that I'm lazy. So what is this person looking at? We're opening it up now to the room. What is this person actually asking? We know what they're asking on the surface of things, don't we? What are they asking on the surface of things? John?
Where is this fear coming from?
Where does this fear come from? Tony?
Why do I feel pain when someone else has an opinion about it?
Yeah, so on the surface, it's saying, I don't know what to do about it, but there's a pretty distinct problem I have, and it's never gone away in spite of all the things I've changed. And that is that someone can say something about me, and when they say it about me, the best response I know is to hate them. Eric?
Is there something I can say or do so that I never have to go through?
At the bottom of the root of this question is there a McDonald's Happy Meal for $7 where in 7 ways I can put you in your place? Send $7 to Post Office Box 221. No, yeah, that's exactly it. Barbara.
The person said, how should I think toward this experience? And so they're asking you, yeah, just basically what Eric said.
No, this is a good point. How shall I think in a moment when a comment is made? So Barbara brings up a pretty important point, doesn't she? He suspects that there's something wrong with the way he's thinking, but he doesn't know the right way to think. Do you see the dilemma that we're looking at? Because the problem really doesn't exist without his thoughts about the person and seeing himself through his own thoughts and how that person is denigrating him. He feels that he is made less of for what somebody says about him. Do you not? Is this not true? Ellen?
When someone attacks me, how do I confirm my image of myself?
Or the flip side, how do I get to a place where I'm so strong in terms of my identity that no longer can anyone upset me? So these are all in this comment and question the person's asked. See, on the board, are we getting anything on the board? I forgot to look. Are we even trying?
Well, there's one. I'm sorry. Fiona says, what's the formula to get out of this pain?
Fiona asks, what's the formula to escape this pain? That is, again, what Eric was saying. We want a formula, because that's how we know to meet life. We want a thought that we can turn to, actualize it, and in the actualization of that thought, escape thoughts that we are victims of, that we say we aren't responsible for, but that someone else has made us go through. Fair enough? So, when I read this question and I was getting ready to bring it in for us to talk about, I remembered a story that I wrote a long time ago. I don't know that I ever told the story, but I put it in a book, and I don't know what book it's in. And you'll understand why I'm telling you this story in a heartbeat here. So here's a man, and he's with his wife and 2 young children, and they're driving from the West Coast to the East Coast on a family, on their way to Wally World. And as they're driving by, maybe you've seen it, off to the right, there's a whole, 30, 40 acres of Ferris wheels and horses that are trotting around on leashes, and booths, and a big balloon in the air, and a Ferris wheel, and the smell of... This is my story. It's not yours. I don't want to know what your smell. Maybe this is where you come in. Okay, what do you smell? I knew it, Doug. Corn dogs. That's where I was going. What? Popcorn. Waffle cakes. Well, we might as well go on with the fantasy. How about one of those sausages with everything on it? Oh, God. You know, it's a phenomenon that a human being will go there just so they can get as sick as they possibly can. And still keep going, which is another story I've got coming up. And the kids go, I want to go, I don't want to go, no, I'm not going, I don't want to go. And the parent, being a strong parent, says, okay, let's go. And they pull in, and it's one of those places where you want to bathe before you even get in, because it's a carny, and it's filled with carny people, roughnecks, I think they call them in the biz. And they're wandering around, and they go to a few of these places, and most of the places are kind of empty, as you would suspect they might be, except that one of the places has a line that wraps around it 3 or 4 times. And the kids want to go to it. The father says, no, we're not going there. We're not going to spend 2 hours to go into this, whatever this is, this hall of mirrors. So they go on a bunch of rides, and then it's time to go, and they start to walk back towards where their camper, their RV is parked with the cats in it, waiting to go to the next, on the next leg of the journey. I'm bringing everybody in. There's food from Lisbon on the stove. And the father sees what looks like somebody who's kind of putting stuff away, has a certain air to him. He's not dressed like the carny guys. He assumes he's the owner of this place, and he wants to ask the owner a question. So he goes to the owner and says, you know what, we didn't have time, but your rides were mildly attended, but the one over there in the far end, there's a line that goes on for days. And not only that, he said, but I've noticed that line doesn't diminish because people no more come out of that ride than they get back in line to go on the ride again. I got to know, what is so special about that ride? And the carny owner says, well, since you're asking, he said, it's true, they always have, that ride has minimum of 3 times the number of people that go on it. And I've done my own observation, and I can tell you that 2 out of 3 people always go back onto it. And the father says, well, isn't it just a house of mirrors? The carny guy says, no, it's not just a house of mirrors, taking exception, as the question might have come, the mirror. Why? You're not calling me lazy, but you're saying that that's just a house of mirrors. Oh, no, it's not just a house of mirrors. He says, for one thing, he said, most people don't know this about me, but I'm kind of a retired scientist, an electrician. Spent my life studying the relationship between the movement of certain substances when stimulated by electricity. It's always been a fascinating topic to me. The father's trying to figure out, where is this guy going now? Have you ever asked a question and then thought, sweet Jesus, why did I ask that? Don't ask questions. He says, what are you getting at? He said, well, years ago I was tinkering around with a couple of these mirrors of mine, and I found out that if I just put a certain kind of coating on the surface of the mirror and then ran a small, inconsistent electric charge through the coating that was on the mirror, it would actually change the surface of the mirror, and the person looking in the mirror would see the mirror change the way they look. It was so fascinating. He said, in truth, I spent like a week myself just pushing the button. Imagine pushing the button and staring at what comes up and then pushing the button, staring again. This is a true story. Anyway, these low-charge bursts of energy fire randomly every 3 to 5 seconds now. So that when a person is standing there, within 3 seconds, the image is going to change, and they're going to see themselves look like who knows what's coming up, because it's all randomly assigned through a random AI generator that I invented. I'm bringing all the current stuff in. And so what happens is that person is standing there, and suddenly they have a completely different shape. Or they have a completely different face, and it's never the same body, they're never the same face twice in a row. And sometimes it's pretty scary. But I found out that when something really scary appears, if someone stands there long enough, something not so scary appears, and then they find great relief in standing in front of the mirror. So they never want to leave the mirror, and that's why it's so busy. The father's gobsmacked. He said, I don't understand. Are you telling me that this house of mirrors is the way it is, so popular, is because the mirrors keep changing the way people see themselves in the mirrors? That's it? He said, yeah, that's it. He said, well, I don't get it. He said, well, I'll tell you the spiritual side of it. The reason that the mirrors do what they do and why it's so popular is because people never get tired of looking at themselves. Translation, people never get tired of thinking about themselves, of being the object of their own subjectivity, of someone that they think they are, and that is separate from the one who is thinking about it. So there's always a sense not just of separation, but a sense of the possibility of escaping people and problem places like this man has described to us, where he said what? How should I think in a moment like this? What image am I holding on to when another person attacks me verbally and I feel hatred towards them? Here's the second story. It's a very short one. Take a nice deep breath, and then we're going to look at the story together. Here's 2 brothers. Could have been my brother, my own brother, recently passed. And I said, Jesus, Greg, why do you keep eating double McDonald's cheeseburgers? You know for a fact that they did you know that diet soda will turn you into a cowboy? Yeah, a cowboy or a cowgirl. Yes, it will, because it takes all the matter out of your bones, and before you know it, you're bow-legged. My brother became bow-legged because of how much he drank 2 or 3 quarts of diet soda every day. The bones just can't, they break down. I said, you're complaining about your legs, your shoulder, about everything. Can't you see the cause of your pain? And that it's making you sick? Can't you see that? And he would say, yes. I say, well, then why? And you know what the answer is? Because I can't get enough of it. I can't get enough of the feeling of myself. I can't get enough of thinking about what I think is you. Failing to see the only way I can think of you is in comparison to me doing the thought in order to resolve the conflict that exists between you and me and what you've said about me or what you didn't say about me. Remember I said the problem is that we live in two worlds at once and we don't know we do. So that heaven for this person in their mind is when they get the recipe, the resolution to how do I stop being troubled by people that are saying things about me that are lies. Ask me if I'm lazy. Are you lazy? Yeah. Because matter is inert. It wants to stay what it is. It doesn't want anything to disturb it. That's the flesh. But in the flesh is that which is animation itself. And a person has to understand that the conflict between what is inert and what is asking what is inert to become a new conception is never going to not go on. But as long as we continue to put ourselves on the side of wanting to figure out what to do with people that bring into our own minds, why would I resist somebody saying, take a nice deep breath. I'm going to really go nice and slow. Did you know there's nothing that anybody can say about you that's not true? And do you know that you don't know that's not true because you resist everything that someone says about you that doesn't match the thought that you have about yourself? What did Shakespeare say about that, Eric? Methinks thou dost protest too much. So, continuing our deep dive, he says, what image am I holding on to when another person attacks me verbally and I feel hatred toward them? Is the problem that he's hanging on to an image, or is the problem that he has a closet full of conditioned thoughts about himself, and that the only thing he knows when someone points it out is to go slam the closet door or to put on some other outfit? Indignant towards someone who has said something rude about you, your feeling of indignance, the feeling of being indignant hides what is being revealed. So the answer isn't to find some way to shield myself from what people say about me. Do you want to spend your life? I'm honest to God. Do you want to spend your life thinking about things that don't matter, to find out too late that you spent your entire life thinking about things that don't matter? If you don't want to think about things that don't matter, then you need to wake up in the moment when everything matters to you because of the smallest little thing. Then you have a chance to see, as we're indicating here, that the problem isn't with what others think towards me. And the problem isn't even in my own thoughts. The problem is in a nature that believes it is what it thinks itself to be, and therefore has to protect itself from other thoughts. You remember when you were a kid? It's all gone now. It's probably politically incorrect for whatever reason. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Look at the wisdom in that. How does a name hurt me? And you know what the real problem is? You're not going to like this. You shield yourself. You make sure you don't put anything out past whatever you know is safe so that no one calls you anything. So the more I can hide out, have my money, my position, my power, my authority, more I can insulate myself, the less problem I have. No, the more problems you have because you're burying yourself with something that under law, by Christ's decree, will be revealed to you before you pass this body. You just don't want it to happen while you're dying because then there'll be nothing you can do about it because there won't be any chance to change that. We better go on. Yeah. Well, let's ask, does anybody want to add anything to our conversation about what this man has asked? Have you understood something about it? Yeah. Let's hope that he has too. What am I supposed to do now? Question two. Yeah.
All right, question 2. I remember a talk you gave a while ago about how you had found a book in someone's library and opened it to a passage that, and this part I do remember, reading it gave you a sudden aha moment. I've had a few moments like that, but not quite as strong as when I read a piece of prose. It felt like pure poetry to me called Desiderata. It was particularly poignant because although I recognize the beauty of all the truthful actions we should take in life and with others, I find myself struggling all the time to live up to those ideals. I'm wondering if you would talk some about this writing, not only help me understand it better, but how I might work with its lessons to become more like the person I want to be for me and for those I love.
First of all, if you're a writer, never name something, never title something that no one else can say. Desiderata. But what that means, and the author Max Rehmann, the actual term desiderata means things that are desired. That's the actual meaning, things that are desired. So he went into the Latin or whatever it was. And he said that he wrote this for himself because in his mind's eye, he wanted to get down, he wanted to write down the virtues that he felt that he was most in the need of. And this is an important distinction. Not the virtues that he possessed, but that he most needed. So that the writing and the beauty of it, which we're going to go over line by line once Kate reads the whole thing, the beauty of that is that you're looking at a man in some respects, not at the same level, definitively not, as St. Paul, but a person who understood, I know what the good is, I don't do it. I can tell you what the good is, but I can't act it. But part of what I know about the good is because I see all of these things in myself that I can't believe express themselves when I'm sitting there wishing that I was nothing like the character that I'm busy casting out into the world and onto everybody I know. So he is in the moment that he's writing this and while he fleshed it out. And God bless him and every other man or woman who takes time to bring both worlds into view so the perspective is proper. Because he couldn't write this if he wasn't in both worlds. Do you understand that? And I guarantee you that he didn't mistake the ideal behind this writing as being the basis of his present existence, but rather the promise and the hope that within him lives that which can understand so clearly that which he cannot and should not be anymore, do the evil that he shouldn't, but rather that he should become the living expression of the good that he describes. And I have one more thing to tell you about this. Last night I was thinking that I was going to talk about this. I hadn't prepared anything really. I don't do the good that I would. I do the evil I would not. And then I thought, how many people fight about the word good? You put it in a capital G and you've got real problems. Because, and I think it's part of this writing that we're going to get into somewhere in this, so I won't look for it now. He says something like, live your truth. The world is filled today with people living their truth. And because you have 6 billion people living their truth, you have war, hatred, starvation, enmity, violence, everything vile under the sun, because your truth doesn't match my truth. And there's no such thing as what is true not being true. The truth is good with a capital G. And here's a new meaning of the word good. What is authentically good is advantageous to everyone in every moment involved in that moment. That is what is authentically good. It is advantageous to everyone and everything in that moment, even though some who are in that moment may not be able to take advantage of the good. The good is always there. Here's two people arguing. It's a good moment. Do you know why it's a good moment? Because one of them is going to see that he can't stop doing the evil he doesn't want to, and the other is going to not care. And the one who can see the good of seeing what is evil in himself then wishes and begins to strive to know the source of that good, which is God. And the other doesn't care about God, but the other cares about what he thinks will make him a godly person so that it can escape people who argue and disbelieve in the things that he does. What is good is advantageous to everyone in every moment, because what is good is God. What is good is the living light that reveals everything we're about to look at together, which we better get going with. I've asked Kate to read the entire piece. Please stay awake. Then I'm going to go through this line by line, and we'll spend as much time as we have left looking at this together. Please, Kate.
Give me a second here. All right. Desiderata, words for life. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexations to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain and bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Especially do not feign affection, neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune, but do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, And whatever your labors and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace with your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy.
I think we'll just get started. Let's bring up the first section. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Do you have the one line? Thank you. That was what was supposed to come up.
The very first.
This is good. So let's talk about it. Go placidly. Take it easy. Take it easy. Amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. What do you think he was illustrating here? Was he saying that I go through all of this stuff and I'm in peace? Or was he saying that somehow or other there is meant to be this peace regardless the haste and the noise? Where is the peace? Please, this isn't philosophical. It isn't even religious. Where is the peace? Well, see, but you just throw it out like you know it. The peace is within myself. Well, if it's in with you, what's the problem if it's within you? See, this is the problem. People imagine that they know what peace is. And if you want to know why you don't have peace amidst the noise and the haste, it's because you think you know what peace is. Because already fashioned in this unconscious nature are all of these pictures and images and aspirations. Each and every one, the misbegotten child of a moment where a disturbance came along, and I was so upset, I had to come up with a way in which I would be at peace. I'm going to go live on the island of Bora Bora. I'm going to get rid of those boring people in my life when I get my degree. I'm going to do all of these things, and every last one that I imagine, the minute it's imagined, an identity appears with it. And the moment there is an identity connected to an image, you have the fear of anything that challenges whatever that one condition might be upon which was predicated the contentment that you were still missing. So I go through life not in peace amidst the noise and the haste, but blaming the noise and the haste for my peace that's missing. Because in my mind's eye, what I see as the noise and the haste, what are some of the things that take your peace from you? Come on, we're working together. What? My computer. Anybody? Drew. Driving on the highway. My work. Barbara.
Physical pain.
Huh?
Physical pain.
Physical pain. Anybody else? Politics. Neighbors. How about the mirror? How about my inability to do what I used to be able to do? How about losing my memory? How about meeting somebody that doesn't see me the way I want them to see me? Every last one of these relationships and every last one of them visit us on a daily basis. They seem to bring up what we call the noise and the haste of a world that is too hateful to care about me. When the truth is that nature that has already named for itself the path to a peace it's imagined lives out the pain and suffering born of trying to make what is imagined into something real. And every time what it thinks is real is challenged, in that moment, it is the noise and the haste that one more time I've got to figure out how to escape it. I have to get you to be a different human being. We're going back to the person who was worried about being called lazy. Because to him, peace is when everybody sees me exactly the way I want to be seen. There's only one problem with that kind of peace, isn't there? I'm a walking, tense, anxious mess. Because the minute the one condition required for me to be consoled in the image I have of myself is challenged, out the window everything else goes. So here's the first thing. Go placidly amid the noise and haste and remember what peace there may be in silence. Maybe the silence that he's talking about is what happens when the mind stops reinventing the peace it thinks was stolen from it. Because then the mind would go quiet by itself, wouldn't it? It would no longer be vested in any ideal whatsoever, because it understands the extent of its pain can't be disconnected from the identification with an ideal of any kind whatsoever. Now, does that mean, and this is the point, if you went through this, I won't have time to go through this whole piece, it's impossible. He writes in couplets. Everything has its opposites in it. Obviously, there's an ideal. He's sitting and writing about the ideal. And the ideal is that I should be a person who has command of my own thoughts and feelings, so that when there's haste and noise, I'm not washed away with the problem, but rather I find myself more powerful for being able to let it all go by without being identified with it. That's a different kind of power, isn't it? Let's bring up the next stanza. Talk about a stumbling block. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. So I'm going to ask you a question to get through this part quickly. You're not even on good terms with yourself. Are you? No, I'm on good terms with myself when you're on good terms with my terms about myself. Now he's saying this is the ideal. Why is he saying it? Because my terms you don't meet, we got a problem. But I know that that's the problem. Not that you don't meet my terms, but that I meet you with terms. So it isn't that you have to change in order to live up to my ideal. I have to see that my ideal makes monsters out of human beings, because no one can live up to the ideals, especially me. But it doesn't mean I shouldn't have them. It doesn't mean that I shouldn't wish at all points and times. That's what the title of this talk was about. That I should be able at every moment to realize that this nature, this personality, this flesh, this contrived conditioned self, it's filled with all of these little cages and tries to make everyone fit them. But that's just one world, and because it can't get the other people in the world to line up with it, doesn't mean that I shouldn't have these thoughts and feelings. It just means that I need to recognize where my own thoughts and feelings create demands, and that the demand is the problem, not that the person doesn't meet it. Yes? Without surrender. He was saying, I see that I'm a fake. I compromise all the time so I can have good terms with people. But the very fact that I compromise in order to be on good terms with people puts me in constant conflict with myself, because A, I want my terms met, and B, when I surrender what I know is true and good, all I'm giving up in that moment is a sense of myself that the minute I do it, I'm going to resist and resent everyone that I had to come make a deal with. Remember the talk yesterday? One condition. Here's the terms for our getting along. Don't look at me like that. Don't use those tones. Without surrender, how can I possibly be on good terms with another person without surrendering my own terms? Two worlds, do you understand? Doesn't mean the terms that I've been conditioned to believe. I don't like foul language. I don't like filthy jokes. I don't like people who gossip. I don't like people that betray. That's natural and proper in this world. But to hate, resent, or regret someone that does those things is not proper to your true nature. He maketh the sun to shine on good and evil alike. Next phrase. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. I'm surprised they haven't changed this thing. Let's start with the first line. Speak your truth quietly and clearly. How many of you can speak your truth quietly and clearly? Or is your truth always with a clenched fist and a tight jaw, a chin that's leaning forward, or a body that's leaning backwards because something has been challenging you and you can't come up with what you need to do to prove yourself? Speak your truth clearly and quietly. So if I can't speak my truth clearly and quietly, what would it be to speak my truth clearly and quietly? Would there be anger in it if I was speaking it quietly and clearly? Would there be raised tones? Would there be an edge to me if I was speaking a truth quietly and clearly? Would there be? But there is, isn't there, an edge to this? Yes or no? Why? Here's the understanding. Look, this is me. This certain things happen. This is what happens. But even though this happens and I know that it's going on, still I know in my heart of hearts that there shouldn't be an edge to the way I speak to people, that I shouldn't hurt others. Yes or no? So what's going on? Why? What is in the way of this higher nature being in command of my thoughts, my body, and my feelings, so that I can, when I need to, speak in my truth clearly and quietly? What's in the way of it? You got to talk up, people. I can't hear her.
Identification.
The knower?
Identification.
Identification? Resistance? Me? No, the reason I can't speak my truth quietly and clearly is because my truth isn't my truth. So that I'm defending the truth, which is really defending myself, my identification with what I think is true. You get into an argument with a person. What are two people arguing about? Truth as they understand it. But when there is real understanding, there's no argument. Because for one thing, a person who has true understanding won't argue with anyone over anything, because they won't do that to themselves. Because in order to be on good, meaning advantageous terms with everyone, means that I cannot be someone who is creating in you, through my resistance, more bad terms inside of yourself as they come up. Do you understand that? Then listen to others. Even the dull and ignorant, they too have their story. How many of you are patient when you're listening to people that before they even get the first 10 words out of their mouth, you know where they're going, you know what they're going to say, you've heard it 100 times, and you just wish they would get on with it? Yes or no? Isn't that describing a family gathering? How do I listen to others? How can I listen to others when I'm already resisting what I think the other is going to say and be? So that the resistance to your character is there before your character even brings it up. And then your behavior strengthens the sense that I have of being someone who shouldn't put up with you because you don't understand what? What don't you understand? What I do. My truth. Do you know what listen to others, the dull and the ignorant, they too have their story. Do you know what he's trying to say? there's no one that you can't learn something about yourself from. There's no moment that you can be in that doesn't bring with it the gift. Let's bring up the second key lesson, please, at this point. And then we'll get back. Is it up? Okay, just take your time. There are 1,000 different ways to wrap a gift, but there's only one way to receive the present, and that is to be open to what the moment is trying to give to you. Because we live in one world, the worst of one and none of the other. Our mind only knows to look for what it feels it is owed. And it is constantly measuring what the moment brings, comparing it to what it believes it's entitled to. And when it doesn't get what it believes it's entitled to, then it refuses the moment and the person involved in that relationship. But the good of the moment is that it's advantageous to all involved, because the advantageous part of the moment is that everyone and anything that you know can be used to help you see something about yourself that you would never see otherwise. And therefore you can become a new human being in that moment, even if no one else wants to. Let's go on to the next phrase, please. I think we just did this one. There it is. This is the passage. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexations to the spirit. Let me just stop there for a moment. Do people turn and walk the other way when they see you coming? Like Jeff Foxworthy. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They're vexations to the spirit. Oh my God, are you not loud and aggressive inside of yourself? What is all this noise about? Have you ever really thought to yourself, what is this nature that that walks the way it walks and talks? What is that about? Is it because I'm actually strong? Or is it because there's something in me that has me looking at some action or ideal and acting out and playing the role so that I can get people to agree that what I'm proving myself to be is the proof of myself? So that I want everybody to prove to me that I am what I've imagined myself to be. Don't you? What's more aggressive and loud than someone who's insisting that you, they, this, or them do what you think is right? What are some other vexations that we're talking about? Anybody? What are some of the vexations to the spirit? Certainty. Anger. Think about it. Anger is a vexation, isn't it? And yet, what does it do? It proves to me that life should be on my terms. That's this divided nature. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain and bitter. Are any vain and bitter people here? Wrong group? For there will always be greater and lesser persons than yourselves. Do you want to hear something really beautiful? It isn't just until, honestly, recently that I've understood this. Every moment contains all possibilities. Every moment, all possibilities. So that in every moment, all possibilities are manifesting themselves. But in this world, the only way all possibilities can manifest themselves is through the opposites. So that in every moment, you're going to have higher and lower. You're going to have better and worse. You're going to have light and dark. Every split second, that's all there. In this world, that's all we know. But in the higher world, they're always both present, so that whether you're the higher or the lower in the moment makes no difference to you at all, because when you are the lower, you can use the awareness of the relationship, and if you're the higher, you can use the awareness of it at the same time. So everybody is serving everybody else. Because everybody's helping everybody see, if seeing is what you are interested in instead of proving yourself. Are you following me? Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. This is phenomenal. Remember I said everything's in opposites. You can enjoy your achievements. With God as my witness, I don't care how much money you have, you can't enjoy your achievements. You know why? Because you're always afraid that something's going to come and threaten what you have proven to yourself through what you've acquired. So that no one who has fear enjoys their achievements. Do you enjoy a glass of wine? Maybe. Do you enjoy being able to travel? Probably. Do you enjoy clothes that you can go out and buy? Most likely you do. And you're as empty in every one of those activities as is the nature that filled itself with some idea about who it had to be, strived to become that, became that, and still have no peace, so that you wander through the noise and haste of a mind that never stops measuring itself against the world, and it'll always lose because it's comparing itself to the content of itself. Let's go on. We have to keep going. Is this interesting to you? Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in changing times of fortune. Exercise caution in all your business affairs, for the world's full of trickery. Little did he know back then. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Let's bring up the section, please. This is pretty phenomenal. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. What do you think he was alluding to, Max? What do you think Max was alluding to here?
Envy.
Envy? Envy? Keep interested in your own career, however humble. Well, that there is envy. That there is envy, sure. Anybody else? Eric?
See something through to the end.
See something through to the end. This is good. What else?
Whatever you're doing, be there for it. Whatever you're doing, be there because it's...
Whatever you're doing, do it fully. Anybody else? Heidi?
Fortunes aren't stagnant. So stay on your toes.
Fortunes aren't stagnant.
Fortunes aren't stagnant. They come and go. Who else? One more hand. Roger.
Do what you have to do, whether you like it or not.
I wish that you could have seen Roger. I'll show you. It was two completely different eyes. Do what you have to do, whether you want to do it or not. How's that for a divided mind? No, he was saying something that's lost in the world today. Because people in the world today, their careers aren't because of what they love. Their careers are because of wanting to get things they imagine if they have them, they'll know what love is. Keep interested in your own career. Stay in touch with the little part of you that loves something and that you do in life. Because no matter how small that may be, however humble, if you stay with what that love is that has directed you, you will have something that will be yours, not just in the changing fortune, but through all of time. That's what he's saying. People spend their whole life doing what they don't want to do. Why? Because they're afraid of doing anything other than what their own imagination tells them will make them rich and profitable in their own eyes and in the eyes of others. And those people have lost their soul. They know nothing of freedom, because freedom is always a little further down the road, when at last everyone and everything confirms themselves as they've imagined. They must be confirmed to be real. Next quadrant, please. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. What did William Blake say about this? The fox condemns the trap. The fox blames the trap. All you ever hear is about they did this and they did that. I was so innocent. If you knew how innocent I was, and let me tell you what my innocence is. I have love, they don't. Where is your love when the person proves they don't have any? Please, I'm asking you important questions. I gave my heart and soul, and then they stomped on it. What heart and soul did you give that they stomped on? When it got stomped on, that heart and soul turned into hatred and suffering. No, he's saying, look, be cautious. The world's full of trickery, and guess who's the first trick or treat? This consciousness that wants to believe in others, that will accept what others do and say as long as they accept what I do and say as being true. Then we're in perfect copaceticity, whatever that word is. Brand new, write it down, copaceticity. You never heard it, it's Greek. Desideratavada. Aren't you sick and tired of being deceived? Do you get deceived? You can't get deceived unless you want something from somebody that's going to prove to you that you imagine yourself as you are. Next line. We got to go on. I know I'm going very long here. But let not this blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. So what? So here I am. Don't be blinded by this. Don't, just because somebody hurt. This happens all the time. I'm sorry, we're not going to have much time for all our other stuff. I just want to cover this completely. Don't let this blind you to what virtue there is. Do you know people who have said to you, yeah, sure, but I've already done that. I've already been there. I went through this. There's no point in doing it. And in some respects, that's true. But if a person avoids, argues, escapes the fact that people can change, that life is never not changing, then you understand if life's never not changing, maybe that's true of you, and maybe there's a different relationship possible if you enter into it with a new mind and a new heart, exploring the moment instead of trying to prove to yourself that you know what's right and that they don't, or that this will work and that can't. Follow me? Life is full of heroism. For me, I always think of Christ. Even the people who say they know that what he went through have no idea. But isn't it an act of heroism when I don't attack you when you attack me? Because I suffer myself. Isn't that a form of heroism? A tiny act of heroism? I'm anxious, I'm rushing, I'm so worried, I can't stop thinking, I can't stop asking myself questions, and then suddenly by that light I see all of that going on. And isn't it an act of heroism to lay myself down for my brother, to lay myself down for the sake of not being a pox and a vexation on the soul of others because of what's passing through me? Isn't that a small act of heroism?
Yes.
Let's go on and close this out. Be yourself. Proof. Especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Do you know what it means to feign affection? Who knows what it means to feign affection? Give me an example of what it means to feign affection. Anybody?
Complimenting people in a wrong way.
Complimenting people? All right, that would be a way of feigning affection.
Enabling.
Dana?
You know how sometimes you see people hug and it's that little pat, pat,
Yeah,
pat?
yeah, hug, pat, pat, pat. Feigning affection is when you try to get somebody out of a negative state so that you won't be negative too. So you pretend, you feign it, you act it out. And then you can't imagine why when the you know what hits the fan, all of that anger and violence comes out. And then you feign affection by tolerating human beings is feigned affection. For in the face of all aridity of that dryness, it is as perennial as the grass. Isn't it as perennial as the grass? Let's go to the last one. Thank you for staying if you did. Neither be cynical. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. I'm just going to cover this all at once. Take kindly the counsel of years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Do you think that he's talking about take kindly the counsel of older people? It's part of this world. Most older people don't have any counsel to give, honestly. But there are those that do. But not if you've discounted them because you've prejudged them. But what he's saying is, the counsel of my years. Do you have the counsel of your years? If you're honest, there's very little counsel of your years. There's very little strength as the result of your years, because you haven't been in your years learning from them. But the possibility, he's saying, the ideal is that I should take the counsel of this experience that I've had. I've had him say terrible things about me 50 times. 50 times I've hated him. The 51st time I saw that when I hate somebody, I'm punishing myself. The counsel of the years, surrendering the things of youth, surrendering the enmity, surrendering the pride, surrendering the ambition, surrendering the things that put me at odds with everyone and everything else in the world. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Isn't that what we talked about on Insight Timer? When you ask yourself a question, isn't it because you've imagined a dark end? And so you ask, how do I escape that dark end? Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. I think that's self-explanatory, but not easy to do, is it? Last, please. You're a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here, and whether or not it's clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. And the last part, therefore be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace with your soul. And then it ends with, be cheerful, strive to be happy. Remember how we started this talk? Said that real freedom is when nothing that you feel can bring you down. That's what cheerfulness is. That's what this man is saying about this world that we live in. The world that we live in, that we see with our eyes and think about with our mind, is a fraction of the world that we're intended to wander through and grow and learn from. You're really of good cheer when you no longer have fear. The end of fear is what good cheer is. And good cheer is when you understand that every moment, by its nature, is a gift. It's advantageous to you if you can take advantage of it by using it to learn the things that allow you to live in both worlds at once, so that you strive to do what is true and good, and you do not judge yourself for failing to accomplish it, but you use the pain, the weight of that judgment to extricate yourself further from that nature. Thanks for your patience. I know I went on quite a while. Let's take a break.
All right, welcome back to the second part of our class. We now have an open discussion time where you can, if you're in the room, come up to the mic and speak if you wish. If you're online, if you're on GoToWebinar, you can raise your hand if you want to talk with Guy directly, and I will unmute you. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you can send a question, and I did see for Skywalker that you sent a question in already, and I'll add that to our Q&A. Let's see, before we actually get started, just want to make a couple notes. So here we are, June 1st, and you've probably heard by now that our foundation here in Oregon is closing. These buildings are closing, and we're downsizing to a smaller location. Guy and his wife are moving to Florida. So there's a lot of change going on, but I want you to know that it will not change anything that you experience with the classes watching online. We are going to, through all of this, we will continue to, Guy will continue to speak on the weekends like he has been. So he speaks on Saturdays on insighttimer.com or the insighttimer.com app, 8 a.m. Pacific time. He speaks on Sundays, just like we are today, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. And we'll still broadcast our classic talks with Guy, the best of the best talks from our archive of Guy Finley talks on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific. Continue on with our study groups on Mondays and Fridays. All right, so all of that will stay the same. But if you have any questions at all about what might be changing here at the foundation, just go ahead and reach out to us on our website. You can go to guyfinley.org/contact, and that will take you right to a page where you can contact us. Did I miss anything there? Did I say everything? No. All right. So I think we're ready to get started unless you have something you want to open with, Guy.
Then some.
Okay. All right, I'm going to start with this question that came in yesterday. Yesterday we had a live stream after our work party and lunch discussion here at the foundation, and this was a question that was sent in. My spouse of 40 years passed March 31st. How does one have pure grieving without the Trojan horse, questions that slyly arise from negative thoughts? Catching those questions that arise from thoughts can easily lead me astray in a destructive loop, fooling me into thinking they are helpful. What does pure grieving look like without these traps? Thank you.
I hope that you were able to stay through the talk, particularly the beginning of it, because I spoke about this Carney and this man who had figured out how to electrostatically change the surface of mirrors in the house of mirrors so that the people that went into it would see the mirror change, they'd see themselves change, and they just couldn't see enough of themselves. They couldn't look at themselves enough as they went through these changes. Now, necessary to understand is that when, for instance, you look in the mirror, I know this is shocking. Why do you look in the mirror? Don't tell me it's so that you know you don't have chocolate on your face. I look in the mirror to make sure I'm here and that I look like I'm supposed to look. Because if I'm going somewhere nice, I need to look pretty nice. And if I'm going someplace I don't care about, then I can look like I don't care about it, which takes more time to get ready for than others. So that everything I look and see in the mirror does what? It produces a corresponding sense of self, because that's what's going on. I'm looking at something, comparing what I see to what I want to see. Yes or no? Yeah. So if I could change what I see in the mirror every 5 seconds, I'd be endlessly fascinated by this rotation of different eyes, each one coming up to talk to itself about what it sees in the mirror as the mirror changes. Can you see that? And that's our life. You know, whoever invented that early game called Pong? Boop, boop, bloop, 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 blop, bling. They were on to something. Or more accurately, their mind was captured by a phenomena that they wanted to figure out how it would be interesting, because what's more interesting than standing there and hitting a little ball back and forth for 2 hours and spending $50 in a game? I'm talking personally. Here's what I'm getting to. I hope I haven't lost you. She's saying, how do I grieve purely? What would pure grief be? What would pure grief be? She's troubled by not grieving purely, because she can see, and she's even suggesting, given the talk on Saturday inside Timer, that she's laying in bed at night, and all of a sudden her mind starts talking to her, asking her questions about the man or woman, whatever it is that's left her. I wonder what he's doing tonight. Did I do the right thing? How will I get over to having done the wrong thing? He doesn't know that I wished that he would die, because it was so painful in those times with him. I have all these thoughts and feelings that I don't know what to do with. And each thought and feeling, when it comes up unbeckoned, creates, as it appears, a question about what appeared, because that which has appeared calls into question the character that produced it. Do you see it? So our mind, as best I can explain this to you, and I would pray that you follow it, we have a mind that is either or. We have a mind that is either or. Either I'm for this or I'm against that. Either I'm against this or I'm for it. That's all the mind can do, because by having an either or mind, it doesn't matter either or. There's still a sense of self that is for or against whatever the opposite may be. Did you follow that? And the fact is that I did have those thoughts. The fact is that I did have those wishes. The fact is I did imagine what it would be like to not have to schlep or worry or do something else with someone else, what I would be able to do with the money that I won't have to spend. It goes on and on. You think you're the only person who thinks like that. That's human consciousness at its worst. And so because my mind is like that, I judge myself and I ask questions. How do I make that up? He's gone. I never did the things I wanted to. I never said to her what I should have. All those things that incriminate the mind, that brings them up so that it can try to deal with a problem it has no power over. But what if it's as simple as to fully grieve is to see fully the nature that doesn't know anything about grief, and the real grief is to see that I've been identified with that and it kept me from understanding what love is. So that grief holds both sides. Grief isn't this and that. It isn't me and the absence of you. It is me and you at the same time. It is this and that at the same time. It is seeing the entirety. Because then grief is pure. It's pure because I'm not blaming myself for what I've done. It's pure because I'm not adding anything to it, because I know that to identify and sentimentalize it is as much a lie as the part of me that tried to steal from you something. So full grief requires full presence. And I'll tell you something else about full grief. Full grief is the moment in which a person, blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are those who mourn. Full grief is understanding there's no moment when all of life isn't sacrificing itself for the sake of the creatures that come into it. And there's always grief, there's always loss. But there's always celebration with that loss because there's always a new conception. So grief isn't this thing called deep sorrow. Grief allows for deep sorrow without creating someone who's captured by it. And these are words. You don't know what to do with your own guilt because you think it's you that did those guilty things. You think it's you that had those guilty thoughts. You think it's you that wish ill on people. And no more do you wish ill on people than then you wish you weren't someone who was wishing ill on people. Back to the desiderata. It's not you. So how can grief be pure if it's already divided up into parts called me that did this and me that shouldn't have? You that could have been this way, but me that didn't allow you to be what you wanted to be. Me that was so selfish, I wanted you to... You see it all the time. It's big in the news. I'm not going to name people. People, what do you think elderly abuse is? Keeping someone alive, doing something that they ought not have to do, let alone take the responsibility for, because you need them to be what you need them to be so that you don't suffer the grief of losing what you imagined you've gained. When you're free of all the pretty pictures that you have of yourself in this world, then you will understand the nature that created those pretty pictures and these pretty images of yourself. And you'll know there was never anything pretty about them at all. But when you know there was never anything pretty about them all, you'll know what beauty is. Beauty is the God that shows you these things so you can be released from yourself and enter into a new relationship with life that has full grief all the time. You're waiting for grief. Your fear that someone you love is going to die. Why do you fear someone's going to die? Because I can feel grief. No, you feel self-love. They're alive now, or they're gone. Leave them alone. Have your own life, so that in having your own life, you can die on the spot to the part of you that wants to feel itself grieving for something that hasn't taken place, or being anxious over something that never happened but might. Because all of it generates this false sense of self that is so intrinsic and important to us that we can't stop looking in the mirror at ourselves.
Hi, my name is Leah. Wow. So what's coming to me so strongly is how we do not know what to do with ourselves and the pain of it and the circle of self.
Hold on. The pain isn't that I don't know what to do with myself. The pain is that I think I know what to do with
That I
myself.
should know,
Yeah.
right? So it starts with the question, the YouTube viewer, what's the spiritual response? How do I defend myself spiritually?
Back to the first question.
Yeah, the first question. How do I spiritually defend myself, right? So I can still look like a good person. And so what people are doing now with AI, and what you just talked about, someone does something at work or a relationship or something, and they want to respond with this very aggressive response. So they go talk to the bot, AI, and they just spew what they want to say, and then they basically say, tell me how to be nice. And the bot will come back and make what they want to say nice.
Into a passive-aggressive comment.
So now they get to believe they're a nice person when they hit send,
on their response. It's such a trick.
You think?
It just really struck me how,
I'm nice. I'm really nice.
yeah,
Because I want to find a nice way to say I hate you.
yeah.
And get you to see why you should be hated, I might add, as part of the intelligence in my comment.
Yeah,
Well, just stop it.
okay.
Don't do that anymore, Leah. Stop sending those notes to Roger.
All right, I'm going to bring in this question that actually also came in yesterday during the live stream that we had during our lunch discussion. This is from Isabel. Why do we need so much conscious suffering? This life is full of suffering in one way or another. Isn't it natural to not want pain and suffering?
No. In this world, it's natural to not want pain and suffering. Because you've been taught in this world that you're owed everything to keep you from pain and suffering. What Christ and every other great being with a capital B or otherwise illumined man or woman, whoever taught what was true, the reason they were shunned, hated, crucified, or conversely made into icons that grant an immediate sense of contentment when you think about them, is that every last one of them tried to show and exemplify with their lives, so that their life was the teaching, that human beings as they are do not understand their pain and suffering, and because they do not understand it, create ways to escape it, and the attempt to escape their pain and suffering, which has a natural place in the existence, create an unnatural existence for themselves full of the pain and suffering of resisting what they are here on this planet to do. We are here, you and I, on this earth, to be the instrument of a will that starts in timelessness and enters into time, and that requires the body, even the physical body, the mind, the heart, the whole of the body to be converted. And to go through the suffering of that conversion, in Christian terms, crucifixion. Because then the pain of being identified, the suffering inherent in insisting on A, B, C, then that pain and suffering serves a completely different purpose that does the pain and suffering of not wanting to have to go through those things. Completely different purpose. One brings that man or woman into the awareness of both worlds. The other denies one and worships the other. Maybe denies God but loves the world, or maybe loves the world but can't have God into it, because how can I have God in my life if I'm an ambitious, lying thief? Everything I do about my life's a cover-up. How can I have God? So this idea, why so much conscious suffering, is because that's all you do is suffer unconsciously without knowing why you're doing it. When you understand why you suffer unconsciously, you will begin to consciously suffer the parts of you that make you do that, that bring you into that world. Then you will begin to die to yourself. One last thing, Isabel. There's a saying, everybody says, I want to be reborn. One can't be reborn until they die. No death, no rebirth. End of story. And the death isn't the death of this body. That's what you're sold so that you can pay people to keep you believing in a time to come when you won't have the pain and suffering that your life is filled with today. And in order to die, to be reborn, you have to wake up to what you have called life. And waking up to see that what you have called life isn't real life at all requires you to start giving up your life. Not because you want to, but because you see it's a fool's errand to keep trying to win from this world what I cannot win. And that whatever I do win becomes the source of my pain and captivity. So one must wake up in order to die, to be reborn. Conscious suffering is this path called waking up to see what I am not, to give up what I have been, and to take part in a relationship that can only exist once those other requirements are fulfilled.
All right, next I have a question that came in from Gladys. My husband has enabled his younger sister her whole life. When her most recent marriage ended, she moved in with us. She is childish and hard to live with, and I've been patient for 7 years, making the best of it, but I am tired and want my own home. She will be 50 years old this month, and I have given my husband several options for different housing arrangements for her, but he has said no to all of them. I am ready to move on and feel sad that my marriage will be ending this way. I feel my husband will be hurt when I leave. Is it selfish to want to live in my own home at peace because I'm ready to move out?
Well, I can't and won't ever tell you what to do. It's not my job. But I can tell you I would have moved on years ago. Unless there's some extenuating circumstance, she's disabled. It requires that he takes care of her because she cannot take care of herself. That's familial responsibility, and that's up to each individual to determine for themselves what that amounts to. But if you're taking care of a person who's 30, 40, 50 years old, and they still require you to see that they have the money they need to live, and without you enabling them, making them codependent, they have no life, then it is your life that has been sacrificed. I don't know why these images come to me the way they do. You know, this time of the year, I don't know what it is. Patricia said it's broom. But there are patches of these yellow flowers that you, in the full sunlight, you can barely look at them. They're so brilliant, so bright. Each one grows up by itself. Each one has its own need. They share a common need for light and ground and water. And the truth is, they also share a certain need to be seen. You have a need to be your own person. The world has stolen it from you. It's told you what it means to be a loving human being. And so for the sake of fulfilling the idea of what it means to be a loving human being, you forsake the possibility of being a true human being. You find out what love is, you'll know what a true human being is. Until you find out what a true human being is, you'll never know love because they are one and the same. And lastly, a true human being, a fearless human being, is not afraid of mistakes. You live under the constant fear of making a mistake. Every question you ask yourself has predicated into it, there might be a mistake here if I don't think this through thoroughly. And the problem that you have is that you're being thunk through, you're being sunk by every thought that you take into your mind trying to protect something that only exists because of something you've been conditioned to believe in. Make wild mistakes. That doesn't mean I can read some of your minds. Good, I'm going to go spend a lot of money this afternoon on stuff I don't need. No, that means find out. What happens if I don't protect myself in this conversation? What happens if I don't take thought for tomorrow, even though tomorrow looks like a tidal wave? What happens if I don't grieve for myself because I just found out something about myself that surely I should grieve over? What happens? Make mistakes. But make the mistake on the side of understanding fear, not serving fear so that you avoid a mistake you've imagined.
Hello, everyone. My name is Terry. I feel like behind both of those questions that he addressed today was a belief in a self that's the doer of things, which we all do. You know, we came into this world believing that we are the doer of things, that we can live up to the 10 Commandments or the ideals in that poem, or that we're the person that said that, snarky comment or did this or did that, that it was this person that did it, made the mistake. And we can live our whole lives that way, never reaching for something higher, understanding that, like he said even earlier, that our whole purpose here is to be that bridge between timelessness and in time. Because that's the only way that we can actually properly be, what did he say in the beginning? To be helpful, to be a real, truly, have proper action in the moment, is to be given that rightly and not from from this doer of things. So I don't know what else I can say about that, but just that it's so strong, that belief in the doer, especially in those moments when there's something, the mind's going, and then someone says something, and then out of the mouth it just goes because it wasn't present. But to actually realize that in the moment it happens and it comes out, to start over and just realize, you just see what happened. You just know instantly, and there's no reason to go any further with that. So,
other than jumping out of the way of a car, you will never make a mistake by slowing down a little bit.
All right, here's a question from Skywalker on YouTube. The more I listen to these teachings in their enormity, the more I feel I am failing. Anxiety ensues, and I deflect and distract. Will I ever get it, or am I already?
We have a certain unconscious nature that has, on one hand, a predilection for the enormity of beauty, for the enormity of a mountain range, of a seascape, the enormity of, for a moment, where I live, there's this field of mustard that starts to grow through the grass. I can't drive by it without feeling the enormity of God as this master artist, and here's this canvas spread out over 3 acres. The enormity that I give myself to gladly because I am enlarged by the love that I have as I am given it to give. Skywalker doesn't want the enormity of not knowing. All you suffer over is what you know. That's all you suffer. If you didn't know so much, you wouldn't suffer. And the problem is that you think that what you know is your knowing. No, you know what your mother, your father, their father, and what every other generation before you knows. That's what you know. I must prove myself. I must protect myself. And I must control any conditions that threatens what I prove or have to protect. That's what we know. And out of every one of those principles, the aberration of individual thoughts, given our environment and culture, as calls forth what it is that we say makes us perform. I suffer now, tomorrow, because I know tomorrow's not going to work out. And I know it's not going to work out because it didn't work out yesterday. And so I'm condemned, but not by the conditions I'm in. I'm condemned by a consciousness that creates the conditions it needs so that it can condemn the moment and fill me with the fear that something's going to happen that I don't want. That's just it. So, Luke, you're not failing. Failure is an idea that belongs to somebody who thinks they know what it means to succeed. What if all that goes out the window, Luke? Will I ever get it? You'll get it as you get rid of it. Then the question comes, well, how do I get rid of it? Yes or no? Who knows the answer? How do I get rid of it? This is priceless, what I'm about to tell you. Because I get rid of it because it has no value and I know it from myself now. What does it profit a man to have gained the whole world, to know everything, own everything that ever was created? Be Scrooge McDuck. I always wanted to be Scrooge McDuck. A long time, he had these vaults and he'd swim in gold coins. And that's what you grow up thinking. Whose thoughts? There's no value in it. There's no value in wanting to be what you call an individual. Because what you call an individual is the collective idea of what an individual is, tailored to your time and place in this culture. You want to know what a real individual is? It's someone who doesn't care a lick about being seen as anyone or anything. Because he's without fear, she's without anxiety. They have no tension because they're not living in a comparative world and trying to resolve something that can't be resolved by the mind that's creating the captivity. Stay close, Skywalker. There's a certain point in a person's spiritual development when the real aha moments take place. And they don't take place when you've thought through something. They take place when you see that thought can't get you to or through anything. Something collapses, and when it does, that light that reveals all that's there, and then you have aha. And then you'll want to grab onto it. But that's okay. That's part of the path too. Anything else?
One more.
Okay, one more. Kate, I said to Kate, anything more? She goes, one more.
I'm not tired or anything. All right. This is a comment that came in from Annette. When people outwardly criticize others to their face, it seems to be inappropriate and harsh, unless it is someone truly close that you say something lovingly to.
People say, why do you raise your voice? Because everybody's asleep. You don't know you're asleep. I'm going to paraphrase this. We have been taught, just like Leah, was it Leah that said the AI thing? Yeah. We have been taught that it is an act of love to be violent and cruel and critical to a person who, without our love, would never know what's wrong with him. So that, for me, it makes perfect sense to find inside of myself the valid reason why it is an act of kindness to speak to you unkindly. Because my mind can twist the whole thing, and that's what it is. It's a twisted mind. The consciousness of humanity is twisted. And it's twisted, meaning it's upside down. I had this picture in my mind. Imagine the apprentice angel and senior angel, they've come down to the earth and they're looking around, and the apprentice angel looks at, and there's this arrow, and it's pointing straight up to the sky. And all around this arrow there's corpses, skeletons, heads with horns, just dead things laying all around, ugly dead things. And Happy says, what is all that? And the senior angel says, those are the remains of the devils and the demons that tried to take that arrow down and prove that it was pointing in the wrong direction. This world is filled with the carcasses of unconscious human beings, each and every one trying to make the world into something that fits what they say the world should be like because they know how it should be. So they'll take the ugliest thing in the world and they'll put lipstick on that pig and they'll say, let's marry it. Because that's how we do it. Because when I don't know what to do with my pain, I will find a way to glorify it. I'll find a different way to explain it to people so that they don't think I'm punishing them. They should thank me for being as honest as I am. You hear it all the time on the news. The whole world's filled with it. And it's filled with nonsense. And you need to wake up. And on that, I'm done. See you all later.